Have you ever heard of the word handicap in sports betting? Especially when it comes to the different bookmakers. Have you ever heard of an Asian handicap, a European handicap, or have you ever come across anything that looks like something that you don't understand, especially when it comes to sports betting? Maybe a 1.3 goals, a plus one, two, or minus something. It's one of the favorite markets that most of us we are not familiar with. But then, what if I told you that if you get to understand what an handicap means, you can reap a lot out of it. And if you understand the dynamics and the strategies that you can use to get the good matches that you want to aspire, then you can make a good profit out of it. Actually, handicap is one of the best market that has been taken in by the successful punters, and it's one of the best or among the best that I can recommend to people. Leave alone the corners, leave alone other things. When it comes to the handicaps, yes, they are controlled by the dynamics of the match, but then winning using handicaps can be very, very easy. My name is Pook, and I'm in this video. I'm here to enlighten you about the handicaps in football, basketball, whatever it is, be it the hockey, be it whatever ice hockey, be it the American football, in any given market, any given sport, any given bookmaker, whatever bookmaker you're using, be it 1xBet, Sportybet, whatever, Paripesa, Mega Party, and any other Sportybet, BetKing, whichever one that you can name. And I'm here to enlighten you on the same, and to let you know that this is a market that if you sit down, you understand it very well, you can make a fortune out of it. Let's check in and discuss what we have concerning the handicap. So when we talk about the handicap in football, or can I say just handicap in basketball, any other sport, it technically means that giving that advantage, the virtual advantage or disadvantage to a given team before the match starts. I don't know if it makes a lot of sense to you right now, but then just sit tight. It's going to make a lot of sense later. So what that technically means is that maybe this is a stronger team, but then you're disadvantaging it before the match begins, okay? You can disadvantage it concerning the corners, concerning the goals, or concerning the general fouls, whatever it is. Whatever field that you take, whatever option that you take, you're disadvantaging or advantaging it virtually before the match begins. So before the match begins, maybe if it is an underdog team, you have given it some goals ahead before the match starts. You understand? So before the match starts, it's having some advantage in terms of goals. So if you are advantaging a team, for example, with 3 goals ahead, it means that before the match starts, let me take an example of Arsenal playing against Burnley. If you take Burnley and then give it an advantage of 3 goals, it means that before the match starts, the match is already at 0-3. Okay, virtually the match at the back of the bookmaker, it is 0-3. So if Arsenal scores 1 goal, then it means the match becomes 1-3. If Arsenal scores another one, it becomes 2-3. If Burnley scores, it now doesn't become 2-3, but it becomes 2-4, because on the 3 that you advantaged it, they have added 1 on top of it. So it's a good thing, and one of the most important issue when it comes to handicap, it allows you to give a level gaming. It gives you that level playing field between the underdog and the favorite team, because the underdog, you have given it some goals, you have advantaged it. But then if you take to disadvantage the favorite, it means that you'll take maybe that before the match begins, the favorite team has 2 goals less, so it has to fight for the 2 goals before it wins. You understand what I mean? So it means that if for example, the same example of Arsenal and Burnley, if before the match starts, you have disadvantaged Arsenal with 2 goals, then it means before the match begins, Arsenal is -2 and Burnley is at 0. Okay? So if Arsenal scores 1, it comes from -2 to -1, and the match is now at -1-0. If they score 2 goals, now it's at a draw. Virtually it's at a draw. If they score 1 goal, that means if the match ends with a 3-0, then your bet is winning. You understand what I mean now? If the match ends at a 3-0, your game, your whatever, your bet is winning. So it's very okay for us to understand the different categories. First, we have the positive handicap, the negative handicap, and the draw handicap. And the draw handicap is the one that is mostly referred to as the draw no bet. Okay, it is most commonly used by many people, yes, as draw no bet. Actually, if you go to other bookmakers, all the other other betting sites, for example the Betika one, they don't have the handicap, right? They have the one for the draw no bet. So the draw no bet is the draw handicap. But then we have the positive and the negative handicap. The positive handicap here, it means that you are advantaging a team. You're giving a team 2 goals, all X goals ahead before the match begins. The negative handicap is you're taking some goals away from the favorite team before the match starts. So if you have understood me very well on that point, it means that what I'm saying is that for the positive handicap, it mostly works for the underdogs, and the negative handicap, it mostly works for the favorite teams. So that's the one good thing. And another thing that we want to understand before we move forward is understanding the difference that comes, for example, when an handicap, especially for the European, we are going to discuss the 2 types of handicaps, the European handicap and the Asian handicap. But for especially the European handicap, I want us to understand something which is very okay and very critical before we move on. That thing is especially when it comes to a plus, a positive 1.5 or a negative 1.5 and a positive 2. Positive 2, a whole number. I always talk about this in my videos when I'm sharing tips. There's something that we have, for example, when we talk about over 2, there's a difference between over 2 and over 2.5. You understand? So when we talk about over 2, it means that if at the end of the match we have only 2 goals, then a refund is given to us. Okay? But when we talk about over 2.5, if there's only 2 goals at the end of the match, we lose. But for the over 2, if there are 3 goals at the end of the match, then we win. And if there are only 2 goals at the end of the match, then it's a refund on the stake that we provided. I think it's clear. So when we talk about the handicap, if you have handicap, for example, a positive 1.5, and the match ends on a draw, for example, like let me not talk about a draw then. Let me talk about you have handicap a positive 1.5 for the underdog and the match ends on a 2-0. You lose. You lose because now the match virtually it's at 2-2. So it means that the underdog that you had given some power has not won that match. But then when you go with over 2, that is a positive handicap of 2, then it means that at the end of the match, if the match ends on a 2-0, virtually the match is at a 2-2. And when it comes to the handicap, all the European, the plus 2, not over 1.5, but plus 2, not positive 1.5, then the plus 2, it means that you get a refund on your stake. Okay, you'll get a refund on your stake. But then the positive 1.5, you get nothing at all. Okay, so there's power in using the handicap of the whole numbers, or what we talk about as the European handicap. Most of the people actually they do prefer the European handicap, yes. But then in this video, actually at the end of this video, if you take time and you listen and understand what I'm saying, you realize that even the Asian handicap has a more advantage compared to the European handicap. So what I'm saying, guys, is that if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, consider subscribing, like the video, and above all, do share, because it means a lot. These are the strategies, this among other strategies. I'll be sharing these strategies on this channel, and you don't have to be a serious punter, by the way. You don't have to be a serious gambler for you to be following this. There's no point of you coming to my YouTube channel to fetch the tips day in, day out. How about I tell you that there are many other ways that after watching these strategies, you will get to analyze the matches on your own. If I share a tip and you're like, no, Shelton, today you're having it wrong, Puck, today you're having it wrong. Let me adjust this, and then you'll be able to make some profits. That's why we are here, and that's the important thing about this. So let us dive in and discuss the two types of, or the major categories of the handicaps. Welcome back. So we have only two types of handicaps, the Asian handicap and the European handicap. We'll start with the European handicap because it's the simplest to understand, and then we'll dive into the Asian handicap. So for the European handicap, technically, it is the one that levels the playing field for the underdog with the favorite team by varying the strengths of the two teams. And what is so unique about this one is that it uses all numbers. You'll find things to do with +1, +2, +3, +4, +5, etc. But then, if you go to other bookmakers, you'll find that the European handicap, sometimes they include the half, that is the plus over that is +1.5, +2.5, etc. Okay, so if you go to other markets, they include such, and it doesn't nullify the fact that it includes all numbers. But then one thing that you have to take in is that it doesn't have that much decimal points. For example, the extreme, like plus 0.25 plus 0.175 plus whatever, and such complicated issues. So it's so easy to understand. And another thing that we have to get very well is that when we talk about the European handicap, most of the time it doesn't have any advantage or any leverage when it comes to winning or getting your half stake back. That's one difference between it and the Asian handicap. So let's check what Asian handicap is. The Asian handicap is a type of a betting option that eliminates the possibility of a draw. When we talk about the Asian handicap, there's no possibility of a draw. But then when you talk about the European handicap, you can have something like a positive handicap of 0. It means that is a bet for a draw, no bet. Okay, so that's another thing, and it gives you one team a goal advantage. It's more complex than the European handicap, yes, and it uses more complicated decimal values, and it is more preferred since it removes the possibility of a draw. Unlike the European handicap, there's no possibility of a draw when we talk about the Asian handicap. So let's just dig deep into the Asian handicap, because the Asian handicap actually is the most complicated when you compare between it and the European handicap. So folks, when we talk about the Asian handicap, we have actually three types of Asian handicaps. We have the full goal stake, we have the half goal stake, and we have the a quarter goal stake. Of the three, actually the complexities increase with how I've mentioned them. For the full goal, it's the same like it's almost similar to the European handicap because it deals with a whole number. That's a 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, etc. How to know the difference when we talk about the difference between the Asian handicap and the European handicap is that the Asian handicap, it must have that decimal point on it. But for the European, it doesn't necessarily have to have that decimal point. So it can be a +1, +2, +3, and most of the time we just recognize them because they are displayed in brackets. Okay, it is very simple to recognize handicaps. Better yet, the bookmakers themselves, they highlight them in that way, and you can be able to notice them. So when we talk about technically the half goal, it deals with the 0.5, the ranges of 0.5, 1.5, 2.5, etc. Okay, now when we talk about the quarter goal, it's the one that is a bit complicated, but then I want you to give me that ear well, and then you take time to contemplate on what I'm saying to understand it. So when we talk about the quarter goal, it splits your stake between the two closest handicaps, resulting in half win and half loss. Technically, when we talk about the quarter, it gives you that advantage to be on the winning. Like when you're not winning, you don't lose everything. You can get half of the stake. So what do I mean when I say it's a split between two closest handicap? Let me take an example. The handicap of 0.25. What are the closest handicap between 0.25? This is a little math here. Now, we just have to understand it in a very simple way, a little mathematics. What number is next to, which handicap is next to 0.25 to the left and to the right of it? If you were to draw a number line like the one that you are taught in maths, you find that if you are drawing a number line, it starts from 0, 0.25, and then 0.5, 0.75, 1, etc. So the two closest handicap when we talk about 0.25 is 0 and 0.5. You understand what I'm saying? So it means that when the range of the two are between those two, then your result of the bet is going to be half win or an half loss, okay? Not necessarily a full loss. But then if it is exactly what you have predicted, the positive 0.25, then you are going to have a marvelous win on it. So I don't want to convince you so much, or I don't want to make you feel like you're going to lose everything. I'm going to provide a table when I'm editing this video so that you can be able to see. But then when we talk about, for example, if you have to take a match between, for example, Barcelona playing against Sevilla, if I give Sevilla a negative 0.25 handicap before the match begins, okay, if I give Sevilla a negative 0.25 before the match begins, it means that if Sevilla wins the match, then I win. If the match ends on a draw, you will lose half the stake. You will lose half the stake. If you betted $100 on it, if you betted 1,000 nairas, whatever, if you betted 1,000 shillings, you lose the half of it. You lose $50 and then you gain $50. You receive half the refund. You understand what I'm saying? You don't lose the whole money, but then you lose half of it. Okay? If Sevilla loses the match. But then no, sorry for that. If Sevilla draws the match, if Sevilla wins, then you win. Okay? But then if Barcelona wins the match, then you lose completely the all of it. Very simple in that way. But then I want us to dive into a good table so that you can consider the negative 0.25, positive 0.25, 1, 1.75, all those markets. We adventure all of them so that we can understand now what happens in the sports betting when we talk about the Asian handicaps. Let's dive in and check the different Asian handicap markets that we have and how the results or how you'll be expecting to fare on during the week. So let's kick it off from we have talked about the negative 0.25 and the positive 0.25. The reverse is true for the one that I've given an example of, the match of Barcelona and Sevilla. Let's check the positive, all the market of handicap plus and minus 0.75. We can start from the minus 0.75. If we were betting on let's use the England matches. Let me take two teams which are almost of the equal strength. So let me take we can do Chelsea and Tottenham. So if I'm giving Chelsea a negative handicap of negative 0.75, then it means that if the match ends with Chelsea winning with 2+ goals, with the match ends with Chelsea winning with 2 or 3 over 2 goals, then I win the stake. Okay? If the match ends with Chelsea winning by 1 goal, then I receive a 50% refund. That's half refund on my total stake. If the match ends on a draw, then I lose the game. I lose the bet. Okay? If the match ends with the Tottenham winning, then I lose the bet again. You'll be able to see it in a table. The next one is if I give Chelsea a positive handicap of 0.75. Now, if the match ends with Chelsea winning with 2+ goals, then I win. If the match ends with Chelsea winning with 1 goal, then I win. If the match ends with Chelsea losing by 1 goal, then I receive a 50% refund if they lose by 1 goal. But then if they lose with 2 or more goals, I get a total loss. Okay, so that's the 0.75. You'll be able to see it in a table, and you don't have to be worried about that, because I got you covered on that, so that you can be able to follow through on what I say. Let us check the handicap of 1.0. So if I give Chelsea a positive handicap of 1.00, then if the match ends with Chelsea winning with 2+ goals, I win. If the match ends on a draw, I win. If the match ends with Chelsea losing by 1 goal, then I'll receive a full refund. Do you know why we receive a full refund? It's very simple, because what we're talking about here, it's almost the same as the European Handicap, and it's all number one. Because what I said when I was talking about the difference between a positive handicap of 1.5 and a positive handicap of 2 is that when you place a whole number on the handicap, you receive a refund. Okay, so that's what's happening here. But then if Chelsea loses this match by 2 goals, then it's a pure loss. Okay, me giving Chelsea a negative handicap of 1.0. If the match ends with Chelsea winning with 2+ goals, I win. If the match ends with Chelsea winning with only 1 goal, the margin between the win and the Chelsea and Tottenham is the Chelsea, they are winning by 1 goal margin, then I'll receive a full refund. I've explained that previously. But then if the match ends on a draw, I lose. Do you know why? Because you are on a negative. I think you understand right now. But then if the match ends with Tottenham beating Chelsea, then automatically I lose. Okay, very simple. Let us talk about the handicap of 1.25. When we talk about the handicap of 1.25, it's lying between 1 and 1.5. So it's very simple. It means that if we are getting that margin of between 1 and 1.5, that is 1 and 1.5, it means that we'll be having now the half win or the half loss. You know what I'm talking about, the half win and the half loss. Let us talk about the negative handicap of 1.25. So if the match ends with Chelsea winning with 2+ goals, then we'll get a full win on the stake that we provided. If the match will end with Chelsea winning by 1 goal, then we'll receive a 50% refund, because I've explained it that the negative 1.25 is giving us that advantage of having an half loss and half win, so that we can't lose everything. We are receiving some refund back. It's like what some Swahili can say, it's like a fidia. Okay, it's very simple, like a fidia, like that amount that you're given, or if somebody hurts you and then they give you that something, it's like a consolation for the good try on the bet. So that's what the Asian Handicap is doing here. But then if the match ends on a draw, then we lose, and if the Tottenham wins, we lose automatically. Let us talk about Chelsea having a positive handicap of 1.25. If Chelsea have a positive handicap of 1.25, if the match ends with Chelsea winning, then we win. If the match ends with a draw, then we win also, because it's a positive 1.25 handicap. Now if Chelsea loses the match by 1 goal, now we get a refund. And it's not a full refund, it's an half refund. That's a 50% refund on it. But then if Chelsea loses the match by 2+ goals, then we lose everything. Okay, let us talk about now what we are going to do next. That is, if you get from 1.25, now we go to 1.5. When we talk about the Chelsea a negative handicap of 1.50, now if the match ends with Chelsea winning with 2 goals, it means that we are automatically winning, right? But if Chelsea ends with if the match ends with the Chelsea winning with a margin of just 1 goal, then we lose. We're talking about negative 1.5. We'll be having that, we could have covered that -1, yes, but the 0.5 will be missing to make it a win for us. I think you understand that. A draw, it's an automatic loss, and also Tottenham winning, it's an automatic loss for the 2 matches, for the 2 betting tips or betting slip that you had placed. Now let us talk about the positive 1.5 on Chelsea. It means that we are advantaging Chelsea 2 goals ahead, and it's an Asian Handicap in this case. So the match ends with Chelsea winning, we win. If the match ends with a draw, we still win. If the match ends with just Chelsea losing by 1 goal, we still win. But if they lose with 2 goals, it means that virtually it will be at a draw and we lose that bet. Okay, I think now you're understanding and you're getting to understand it in a better way. Let us talk about the last but not least, that is a positive handicap and a negative handicap of 1.75. Sorry for that. 1.75, it's a line between 1.5 and 1 and 2. So it means that if it is at 1.5, we'll be having an advantage of us winning, us having the half refund on the stake that we staked. So let us talk about the negative before we talk the positive. The negative handicap of 1.75, if the match ends with Chelsea winning with 3 goals, we're talking about 1.75. Chelsea winning with 3 goals, we are going to win that bet. Okay, but if Chelsea wins with a margin of only 2 goals, then we'll get an half refund. 1.5, if you round it off, you'll get it to 2. Okay, to 2 goals. Now you'll get an half refund on the total stake. But if Chelsea wins just by 1 goal, then it will be a pure loss for us. Okay, and if Chelsea loses the match, we lose it. If the match ends on a draw, we lose it. So it's very risky for the negative one, because for us to win, we have to have a margin of at least 2 goals for the 1.75 Asian handicap to work. For the positive Asian handicap, if the match ends with Chelsea winning, we win. If the match ends with Chelsea drawing, we win still. If the match ends with Chelsea losing by 1 goal, we win still, because we're talking about 1.75. But now if Chelsea loses by 2 goals, then we get a half refund. We are talking about 1.75 lying between 1.5 and 2. So the maximum that we can go is over 1.5, and over 1.5 is just 2 goals. But then if Chelsea loses by 3 or more goals, then we get a pure loss. So that's technically the table that I'll display, and it's technically what happens. That is because not because I'm trying to say, that means that if you are having a hard time understanding it, you can refer. And even when you are placing your bet and you are thinking that this match is going to end with, for example, Chelsea win with at least 2 goals, which one should I consider? Should I go with an handicap of negative 1.5, negative 1.75, positive 0.5, positive 1.25, positive 0.25, so that you can come to that table, to the table that I provided, and then you pick on the matches and then you place on them. But with more time as you place on them, more time as you practice, more time as you listen to this video, you get to understand what I mean. Now, you know, it's not of any importance if we discuss a strategy without really discussing the significance of the strategy, what it helps us to do, the other things, the advantages, or what is it important for us to adopt it. Let us discuss the advantages and everything that may concern us concerning this handicap. So one of the advantages that is very like it speaks for itself is that it lowers the risk of a loss. As you have seen for the Asian handicap, the 1.75, 1.25, whatever, 0.25, because it has that the refund on the stake that you give out, it is of more or less risk compared to the 1x2 market. Okay, it has a better value when you consider the odds that are given for the handicap market. Actually, the bookmakers, they don't always know how to align or how to assign the odds very well in that market, especially for the Asian handicap. So it's very advantageous and it has better odds. And another thing is that it lowers the betting margins, hence gives you that good profit or good advantage. It gives you that good leverage of having many profits at the end of the day. Okay, because you, instead of losing your stake, the $100, all of it, you can gain 50. It technically you're on a loss, yes, but then if you look at it in the long run, you are on a profit, because at the end of the day, if it was a 1x2, you could have lost the 100. Which is better, losing the 100 or gaining 50 back? at the end of the day you realize that regaining the 50 bucks back, it's very okay. So the strategies that we consider is one of the very many important things that we have to look at. So one of the strategy, or one of the things that you have to know, is that you have to know the teams, be well knowledged on the teams that are playing before you go for the bookmakers, or for the Asian handicap market and the European handicap. Another one is that check on the handicap, because one of the things that I can advise is that you can, if the odd is over 1.4, 1.5, then just shy away from it or run away from it. The handicap markets work best when the odds are between 1.1 and 1.35 or 1.36 there. Just note that, and then it will help you in the all day long. Because at the end of the day, you realize that the bookmakers can't be that stupid to place an odd of 1.6 on a market that they know that you are going to easily find it. So the lower the odd, the better the handicap it is working for that. Okay. Another thing is that analyze the goals expected during the match, so that you can be able to know, am I going to choose the positive handicap or the negative handicap? Which is my favorite team here? I'm expecting, for example, it's a match between Lazio and Juventus. I'm expecting Juventus to be scoring goals, yes, and Lazio to be scoring goals, but then I don't expect much goals in this match. If you understand the two teams, you know that there are no always many goals, and you know that the winning margins, it's always either 1 or 2. So it means that you can now take on the positive handicap for the team that you think has been disadvantaged by the bookmakers, and then you give it a +2 handicap, a +1.75 handicap, or any other thing like that. You understand what I'm saying? Very simple. And another thing is that you can always be checking the matches. Check the matches before. Consider the trends of the odds. Consider how the odds are faring on. And another great thing that I must say is that always check on the statistics of the match. Check on the form of the match. How have the teams been playing? Has it been a win, loss? Check the forms, the previous forms, the recent forms of the team, so that you can be able to know that this team has not been strong of late. Yes, it's my favorite team, but then in this market, I'm not going to disadvantage it, because disadvantaging it might ruin everything, because the match might end on a 0-0 or a 1-0, which is not going to give you any advantage in that match. Okay, so have the recent form of the team for the better analysis of it. I hope this video helps. You have come to the end of this video. I hope it helps. I'll do another video if you request it. If you have not understood anything, leave your question in the comment section. I'll be reviewing the questions, and I'll answer, so that we can get to reap the best out of this market, because this is a secret report for us. It's like a secret for everybody, a secret for the 24 punters, because this is a market that can always make you profits that you have never imagined. It has been the Poop Predicts. If you have not subscribed, consider subscribing, leave a like, and above all, always leave a comment on what you think about the video, because all we do is we want to become better, and this is 2024. All the best as we study the strategies, and all the best as we become better. Learn, and learn how to create your own bet slips. It is very important. I'll see you in the next video. Until another time, adios.